It's so funny. Like I was just thinking about the first time we talked about this show. It was Comic-Con 4 years ago before it came out. We were actually coloring. If you guys remember, you came to our room, we were doing color with crayons and everything. So back in that day, we didn't know what it would become, and the monster in so many metaphorical ways as well, too. So I guess I'm going to start with Eric first. Eric, the beginning of this show and what you wanted to do versus what you get to do now and the road you traveled. The road you traveled is something that your shows is always something we kind of like is a theme. So how would you explain the road you traveled so far with the boys?
I mean, by and large, in terms of, the big, story escalations and big character turns, those were, that's about right to the plan. I mean, the plan's very, very rough because you got to leave a lot of openings for the world to, for the writers to surprise you and for the actors to surprise you. One thing I will say is that I am surprised at how much the world has grown to reflect the show and in some ways surpass it in its insanity. That is a thing. Like the ability of the boys to somehow predict a lot of what's happening out in the world and reflect it back to the audience. I mean, I think we were flirting with that stuff in the beginning because that's what the show is about. It's about authoritarians, pretending to be celebrities. So it was always out there, but the world so reflects the world of the boys now. Like
I
they're just
know.
these Russian nesting dolls now that I don't think I was counting to that extent.
Yeah, I don't like season 4 of The World right now, but I mean, I'm okay with season 4 of this. Anthony, when it comes to Homelander 2, the inner strife and the ability to essentially create so much emotion with the straightest smile smirk ever. Like what do you feel when you're him? Like how do you kind of get that boiling point in there, because there is an inner turmoil. I almost feel like your eyes should be shaking in their sockets sometimes.
I'm glad they're not. I'm glad they don't. I don't know what that would mean, but no, look, for me, I'm not particularly method, and I think that's probably a good thing in this case. I've been asked that before, and I had to think about it because I didn't really have an answer for it. But I think the thing is, and I think this is why the characters responded to pretty well, is that right from when the character when it was embryonic, it's been fleshed out with honesty in mind and honesty when it comes to the human condition. And I think that is at the core of everything we do with this guy across the board with the show, actually, but with this character. And so I'm taking things from me, from things I see, from whatever's on the page, like running with it, like putting it all into this box and then turning it up. Just turn the dial up, or as I said before, inject it with steroids, really magnifying it so that it can nest in the boys, which is, it's a pretty spectacular universe that we're in. So, I mean, that's amazing. We get to do things that are just surreal.
Right.
So I feel very lucky, very fortunate to have had this experience and go back and do some more.
So, Eric, speaking of, the world kind of connecting everything else too, as you are writing for the next season, what is the worst, thing that you want to be a reality in the boys? Because there has to be there's a crescendo. I mean, there has to be a crescendo to all this as well. So, in an authoritarian world, what is it you want? What do you want the little people to get out of the boys as they kind of see everything that kind of culminates here?
Well, first, the viewers are not little. Many of them are regular sized. And, it's really fun to tackle the final season and also really daunting because it needs to, reach a crescendo and a climax, but also not become so big and bloated that you lose what makes the show special, which is that it's this grounded reflection of our world, right? So it's this fine balance. And then you also you have like 30 planes you have to land, like you're like the traffic controller at JFK and you've got to just bring them all down safely with a certain amount of runway. So that has been really challenging, but it's really fun too, because you're not holding back anymore. There's no like, oh, well, we have to make sure that we protect that particular moment or character because of the next season. You can just go all out. So it's both really liberating, but also, one of the trickier games of Jenga I've ever played.
Very cool. Well, I have to let you both go. I'll just say two things. Last season, I think Antony gets to be in Lululemon, like red and blue. He's been in the suit too much. He needs to relax a little bit. And then hopefully you guys can, red and blue. And then hopefully you guys can color with us at Comic-Con this year as well. We'd love to kind of have a little more long and deep conversation there as well. So
That'd be great, man. Yeah, good.
Have a great day. Pleasure.